Round here, them guns get the last word.
Before we dive into this conversation, if you're new, consider subscribing. Also, leave a like on the video. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We have a very interesting development in the world of Street Fighter. You know, they showed off their Season 4 pass, their Year 4 pass, and it had Tifa and 3 other characters. Bosch, Arjun, and Yasmine is her name. This kind of divided the player base. Their Steam reviews got hit a little bit, resulting in a mixed review. But honestly, since that initial day one of the announcement, the negative reviews have slowed down and the positive reviews have kept going full speed. So it seems like they will be able to tank the blow regardless of how people feel online. Very vocal about it, but it's not damaging the property too much. And this was kind of my prediction, because Street Fighter, this isn't the first time they made a controversial change and upset players, but then still somehow managed to gain massively from it. So it seems like whatever they're doing is working, and they're going to continue doing it. But regardless, after that announcement, they did a couple of interviews and they talked about some very interesting things. Like, for example, they talked about Virtual Fighter 6. The quote, basically, you could summarize it down to, is that they said they were genuinely interested in what the game is offering and they can't wait to try it, echoing the same sentiments that all of us have. But when you dig a little bit deeper, one, talking about the character Yasmine, they put out a tweet saying, high schooler hailing from Philippines joins the fight to search for the lost Kaya. Despite her shy, gentle demeanor, Yasmine beams with confidence whenever she uses her crescent-shaped karambit knife to dance around her opponent at high speed, just like her low totter. What is interesting about this character is that she is actually being positioned to be the lead of Season 4 and to be like a primary character going forward. They spoke about this in a recent interview, and they talked a little bit about a lot of the characters. To read from my tweet, it says Street Fighter 6 director says they were working on Tifa since 2023, only 3 months after launch. And once again, this kind of goes back to what Harada said. Even though it's a different game, it's the same thing, that, you know, DLC characters take like 1 to 3 years of development. Guest characters take longer, and for Tifa, she took 4 years to get here from launch. The director also goes on to say that Yasmine will take on a lead role, having protagonist-like qualities. Now, Arjun is very handsome with a large build, but having short arms. And then Bosch was planned since the beginning. You know, a lot of people were mad that they would have to pay for a world tour character, but he was planned since the beginning. And when you look deeper into why they made these decisions, it honestly makes sense. You may not like it, but the reason why they went all in on new characters is this here. It says, since the release of Street Fighter, we've seen an influx of new players. One of the reasons we added 3 new characters is the shift in age range of our player base. Until recently, the main age group was around 35 to 45 years old, but now the largest group is 15 to 25 years old. We wanted to add more completely new characters to appeal to these new customers, and we thought having more new characters would be beneficial for the growth of the Street Fighter brand. This is what fighting games have struggled with the most. The current audience is getting older and older, and this means they have less time to play because they have more responsibilities IRL. And if you want your game, your brand to survive for generations to come, then you got to reach those generations. It just sucks because right now Street Fighter is in a tug of war between the two. Of course, all the people who are age 35 and 45, they're not going to be happy with seeing Luke on the cover. Vega, who knows when he'll show up. Balrog, who knows. Makoto. There's a lot of characters that the old school players really hold near and dear to their hearts, but they're being pushed aside for the next generation. The only thing that we can hope for is that this game eventually delivers on all of the characters so that people can be happy. And honestly, Street Fighter has time to do so. Another quote that I want to read from my Twitter, this comes from the producer of Street Fighter 6, and this person says, Street Fighter 6 will have a 10-year life cycle, and the next game isn't being considered right now. The quote, I personally want Street Fighter to be running and operating for as long as possible. When we initially kicked off the project, our eternal goal was to hit 10-year life cycle. But that's why we were working so hard to improve the quality of the game and to make sure that the characters we introduce are attractive and appealing. And the question regarding Street Fighter 7, that's not something we're thinking about right now. We see a lot of new players coming into the game right now, and we want to continue catering to that particular audience. So Street Fighter 6 and maintaining its longevity is the main focus. And what's interesting about this, because we'll talk about Tekken 8 as well. You know, Mortal Kombat, they ended their lifespan very fast, and they did that for the past like 2 or 3 games now. But for Tekken 8 and Street Fighter 6, it seems like these games are more interested in having long-term games. Now, Tekken 8 lost the majority of its player base very early on, and it's been hovering with this core audience. There is some new people showing up. You know, the reveals were pretty good. Things are really great, but they've kind of been hovering. Now, as for Street Fighter 6, their viewership, their retention, their play rate is insane, and it makes sense for them to carry their game for a little bit longer. I spoke with people who said 10 years is too long. They would much rather it be like 8 to 7 years. But even if that is the case, depending on whichever one they do, Vega and Balrog and some of the other iconic characters will most certainly show up during that lifespan, during that time frame, and then the players can play them and have fun. And then once again, everyone can be welcome. So this season seems like it's really just a season about the young players and new players, and then maybe we'll get something with the next one, because you know the movie is huge. The movie's going to be huge. The movie's going to be exciting. So it makes sense for them to capitalize off the characters who's in that movie. Another quote here. This is explaining how they got Tifa. The initial conversation began roughly 3 years ago. We have a mutual friend who works at Square Enix, who's a big fan of Street Fighter 6. We'd have discussions about it. What can we do to collaborate somehow? And eventually those conversations led to, what about a potential guest character from one of the IPs or the series? And around that time, Final Fantasy Remake series was very attractive. Looking at the character background, a character like Tifa, who has a mutual art style, we thought it would be perfect for Street Fighter 6. So it kind of organically led to this happening. While in the process of making this video, the developers of Street Fighter 6 put out new information on Arjun. I'll read it. It says Arjun uses extraordinary lung capacity combined with Yorick breathing to unleash explosive power with his unique bare knuckle yoga techniques. While working as a police officer in India, Arjun was accused of killing a colleague and now lives on a run while he searches for the culprit. Arslanaj highlighting how this person is from India, and he was kind of saying it will be cool to get a Pakistani character. And honestly, I think it will happen eventually, whether it be for Tekken, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. One of these games will do it, because all of these games are making so many new characters for so many different people, for so many different generations of players, and it's only a matter of time before everyone has some type of character that represents them or is connected to where they're connected from. I know that these fighting games have their ups, they have their downs, they have their wow moments, they have their shockers, but at the same time, there's currently an up trajectory happening. Fighting games is very difficult to produce, they're very expensive, and they're kind of niche. So the fact that so many of these fighting games are finding success and they're continuing to battle through everything, through review bombs, through losing developers, through controversy, through bad DLCs, these fighting games are pushing, they're fighting, and they're delivering. There's still so much more work to be done, because I know the Street Fighter 6 like competitive players aren't happy with where the game is at. Even though there's a lot of success and it's a lot of money there, they're still not happy with game balance. So that's something that the developers can continue to strive for. And the same thing with Tekken. They have a little bit more problems on their hands, losing a little bit of their leaders, but if they just follow the blueprint that was established before those leaders left, then the game could continue to see success.